Harry Como's Craft Music Hall will not be seen tonight, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
I remember when The Dark Knight Returns came out. I remember when Watchmen came out. So, of course, I remember when Kingdom Come came out.
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
Sorry, folks, a couple little farting special effect issues on my end, but we are live now. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. Today, the comic book documentary conversation show. John Suntress here. I am very happy to welcome, as always, our returning champion, Sal Abbinanti, the executive producer of the great coming The Legend of Kingdom Come documentary, and Remzi Atasi, am I saying it right, Ramsey? Your last name? Attaboy.
You got it.
The director of Kingdom Come, Legend of Kingdom Come. Guys, welcome. And I was just telling Sal, Sal was kind enough to send me the screener, and I am thrilled with the final project, and am humbled by my contribution. And I'm so glad to be part of it.
You're a natural.
No, you gave a great interview, man.
Well, that means a lot.
One of the better interviews. You know, I mean, you had something to say. You're an opinionated guy. You got that. You know, you got a great radio voice. You know, it all lends to it. So it was great. It's terrific.
No, I appreciate it, man. And truly, it was a very quick second about personal things. I was telling the guys, I did so much TV in the 90s, and I would watch it like this, and I'd be like, all right, I look okay. All right, whatever. You know, hey, Casper Gutman is on to tell you about.
Our Tiger Beat days are over, John. What are you going to do?
Exactly. But man, Remzi, I'm telling you, and Sal knows, I made sure I had a good haircut. That every hair.
You were looking good.
You very dapper. John looked like he looked like Irv Cups in it. You know,
it's a little bit of movie magic, but no, you're bringing a lot to the table.
I was wondering, Remzi, if you slimmed me down like Ann Wilson.
No, we didn't slim me down. It's the lighting, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it worked. So
you
I'm
look
very
like
relieved.
Stevie Nicks, John. You look great. You were
stand back. No,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Here, Wayne Rousseau is all excited for story time with Uncle Sal and Uncle Remzi.
There's Wayne. So. There's always one. You know, there's Canadians that take the show down on rails.
100%, absolutely. This is really great, and both of you, Sal, I'm going to ask you first. In fact, I remember you even telling me recently that, you know, you always had it in your mind to do an Alex Ross documentary at some point, but this is both very much about the Kingdom Come book itself, but also a good look at Alex's life and career. But I like it through the prism of Kingdom Come.
Well, yeah, I mean, Remzi and I talked about, we've been doing a lot of footage and different things with Alex for our social media for years. And then we had talked about a longer format. And then originally it was just kind of, let's do a doc about Alex Ross. And then we had some creative differences, and, you know, and Alex wasn't necessarily all that hyped about the idea because we'd done 2 art books with Alex, Marvelosity and Mythology. So, you know, we just discovered haphazardly whenever we posted Kingdom Come stuff that was what the fans wanted. And then me being in the unique situation that I knew Alex from, you know, the bar days or the days when we were coming up in the business, and I knew where the bodies were buried. I had all the great stories, and whenever I would tell those stories to fans at cons and they were interested in that stuff. So I thought, hey, Ramsey, maybe let's do something kind of behind the music kind of thing where it's a little more interesting and we could dive in a little more.
What'd you think, Ramsey, in terms of, what was your vision putting this thing together?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a filmmaker first, so I came to this whole thing with Sal about 9 years ago. We started working together, and right away on working with Alex, I was like, this is just an amazing subject for a documentary because he's this incredible talent, and he's got a kind of what did they call him, like he's like larger than life, like he's it's like and in a sense people don't see him as much, and so it's kind of like they see the content that we put out, but he's kind of more a behind the scenes guy. So this was an opportunity for us to get some stuff with him, and when we would be shooting content for his channel, I would go and I'd be like, okay, let's see if we can get a day where we can maybe shoot some material for this doc project. And over time it became apparent that that this would be a really cool project to focus in on. I became familiar with comics through these guys, to be honest. I mean, I grew up, I read comics when I was growing up, but not probably like you guys did. You guys are like the true heads. And Alex is certainly of that generation and the same mindset, and Mark and everybody. So getting to see it through that lens. So in a lot of ways, it's like, the documentary is like kind of a bit of an outsider looking in. But Kingdom Come, when I went and read it, and I'm not saying I had never read any comics, because like the really big stuff I had read, and I was into, graphic novels and all the kind of stuff that you read when you're, growing up or in college or whatever, coming of age. And so I was a fan of that stuff. And then when I read this book, I was like, oh yeah, this could sit right among any of those books, because the art is on another level, and the storytelling, the approach to the characters brings, I think, like an authenticity to them, and also puts them in a new light. But it's I think the way the characters were kind of classically seen, and that, as I came to learn in making the documentary, was it's a product of its time. And so that time period and when it was created and when it was released, it's a very interesting story to see, because it's like a response to those things. But if you read it in a vacuum now, it kind of holds up on its own. It exists outside of that. So it works on a lot of different levels. And I thought that was a really cool part of the story to tell as well.
Timely and timeless. Timely for being 1986. And God, I feel very honored that you guys used my quote, because obviously, Sal, you would say that Kingdom Come was really, in a lot of ways, Alex's response to the Image movement and a lot of the heroes that I think were being made in the early 90s that were extreme, and it's like, here's the guns and here's the gauntlets, and everybody,
a little
bit.
I mean, Alex, he liked that stuff too, but I think a lot of it had to do with Superman was always his guy. He liked the core guys at DC. He, the Justice League and the original from the 50s, the Martian Manhunter, Justice League, and all that. So he just always felt, these guys shouldn't go out of style. And then there was always kind of that knock that Superman wasn't cool anymore. And Alex was like, no, he's the character. You just got to do something cool with him. And that's kind of where it came from. I mean, he appreciated the Image stuff because it was selling comics. It was popular. Not all of it, obviously, because not all of it was great, but he was a fan of it because I was there with him when we were at the comic store, and he was buying it.
Okay, because it was, obviously, and you guys talk. It's a great history of comics, and I as you, Sal, likely as well. And Ramsey, I don't know if you watch other comic book documentaries, but the history of comic books can be done to death. But I do think it's necessary from a perspective standpoint to show where we came from and also where we were when Kingdom Come came out and where we are today. And I think you guys do a great job of encapsulating that history and showing a lot of great covers over the years and the eras of the Golden Age and the Silver Age. Alex growing up in the 70s, which we all know is the Bronze Age. I think, in fact, Sal told me, by the way, for people watching This is the movie poster, and that great shot of Superman. That's wonderful. And we'll show you more images of the Kickstarter campaign as we go. But yeah, I really felt that it was a good explanation of the history of comics and in a fresh way. And that's tough to do, Ramsey, because really, as you know, then you saw a lot of other comic documentaries.
Well, yeah, I mean, we looked at everything when we were, you checked it out. So there's a lot of cool archival material in there as well. And so we looked at everything. We were going down, looking at films and other docs and going through YouTube and just trolling, trying to find anything that could kind of visualize some of this stuff. But I do think it's not just to tell the story of it for the sake of telling the story of it, because I actually think it's really important if you want to get the full context of KC, Kingdom Come, you want to know all this backstory because it's relevant to the storytelling, and it's relevant to what Alex and Mark were trying to do.
That's great. Hey, the family's watching, Sal. Rachel chimes in with, congratulations, Uncle Sal, first day at Kickstarter.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Yes, we're doing very well. We're on. Yeah. We're hanging. We don't really have a gauge set of greediness. We just want to keep moving forward. We got a lot of great. We worked. Our team worked really, really hard to put together some amazing tiers and some amazing product. But at the end of the day, Ramsey and I, our goal was just to get the film to people and to get the Blu-ray to people and to have people watch the film. And having done a couple of these before, there's an amazing connection with the indie community in Kickstarter. And so Kickstarter's become more than just wow, these guys are asking for money. No, it's an important part of the process to be able to have that direct relationship with people that want to be involved on the ground floor, so to speak, with independent projects. And that's what this was. This is just Ramsey and I. We don't have Otto Preminger and Robert Evans with their feet up on a desk with a cigar, right? Yeah, writing us checks to make this. This is just Ramsey and I. So it's important to get it out there, and this is a great way to market it. And you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with a licensor or something like that.
Right. Well, you made a great. Thankfully, it looks like DC and Marvel were cooperative with a lot of Alex's stuff.
Ridiculously so. We couldn't have had a better relationship with Marie Javins and the people over at Warner Brothers in DC were again, this wasn't, we didn't go straight. This was not a laser beam, so to speak, because Ramsey and I started this before COVID, and then we had to put it on ice during COVID. So this is a 4 to 5 year journey to get this thing finished. And thankfully, to Ramsey's credit, when we came out of COVID, he was the one that said, "Hey, Sal, we got to get this thing finished." And so I said, "All right," because coming out of COVID, everybody was trying to get their sea legs back. And I said, "Great, let's do it."
Is the 30th, or have we passed the 30th? When 96, right, was the year?
96,
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do.
We're getting there.
So yeah, 30's coming up.
Yeah, they did the 25th not too long ago. I remember they came out with a special edition. So yeah, with the 30th is coming right up.
Yeah, 100%. Steve Small, good question. He wants to know: will we see Uncle Sal as Captain Marvel in his unflattering costume? It's not a bad costume, Sal. I know you. I saw your guys' panel in San Diego.
John, there was more than one costume. Okay. So the first one was like a hospital gown. It wasn't even a costume. I mean,
and the answer is yes. You do get to see the costumes. You get to see Sal's costume.
You see photos of me back when, and then Ramsey does a great job of showing you the process from the pencils to the photos to the finish. So yes, you do get to see me in that horrible with the sash and the lightning bolt and the whole.
Well, and great facial expressions, and again, that's what Alex does.
Squint and smile. That's all you got to do to be Captain Marvel.
Well, I loved that part of it. I mean, we did go really deep, and I'm sure, John, you checked it out, so you saw, like, in terms of the images, like, we're unearthing stuff that has been sitting in boxes for decades. And Sal went and he spent like a week like a maniac just scanning all this stuff. Like, he was just in his basement just scanning like thousands of images and sent it to me. And then we got
thank you,
we
Wayne.
got all these books. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. we got all these books. Sal again bringing out his collection, and then Alex gave us these photo albums. He kept all the reference material. So we went, and I kind of have a tabletop way that I go and I capture archival stuff, super, super high resolution. We can go and capture old photos or comics or whatever, and they're like reproduction quality, which is really plus now, honestly, with a lot of the advancements in AI, which I know in comics is a kind of a taboo thing, but from this standpoint, it's amazing because it's like it allows us to bring stuff back. Literally, if you could bring stuff back to print, you could bring stuff to print quality that is just like a book, which is wild because you've never been able to do something like that before. So we kind of not patented, but we kind of developed a workflow for this archival stuff. And yeah, we've captured like thousands of images, and then we were able to take them with our animation team and bring it to life. So you see the reference photo, you see the thumbnails, the sketches, and then the final painting. And we even have some shots, I'm sure you saw, where it's like we kind of like created a model of his room, and you can kind of see like the different things laid out, and you see it kind of come to life. And those were really cool shots.
Well, and also you've been teasing to promote the Kickstarter getting started. You've got that wonderful floating image of Superman in the sky, and we get kind of a almost 360 kind of view of Superman. Yeah. And it's obviously based on Alex's paintings. Here, I'm going to show the poster again, because this is one I love, and I've always said this regarding Alex's stuff, is just the weight of the world in Superman's face. You see that responsibility. That just look at that face. I mean, my God. I mean, there's a guy that is literally carrying the world on his shoulders, and that's what I've always loved. That, and even his moments where he's humbled in the story as well, and he's kind of bowed, and his head is bowed and stuff. Also, man, very cool to finally see the guy that was the model for Superman. This is like whoever James Bama used for Doc Savage.
Yeah.
And seeing photos of that.
Frank's still around. We had to pull him out of mothballs. Frank was an easy get immediately. He lives in the area, but it was great. We got a lot of the models. We got as many as we could. And it was important for us to kind of show, and Remzi wanted to kind of show the pencil to the model to the pencil to the finish. And
with Frank's with Frank's contribution too, like there's kind of we don't really get into it that much. It was a story that we kind of cut just because, you cut all kinds of stuff for different reasons. But like a lot of these guys were working together, and they were artists in Chicago at like Leo Burnett, right? Sal, you were there, and Alex was there, and Frank was maybe there.
Frank was also Burnett with Alex. Yeah. And I was,
so they were like, yeah, so there's like all these kind of illustrator guys who are all collaborating and working together, and they're going and hanging out, and they're kind of making these books, and then they're the characters in the books. And again, that's just like a cool story. I think anybody would find that fascinating. You know what I mean?
100%, man. No. Very, very cool. And as I was talking to Sal before we started, and I've not felt this like great since watching the Chicago Bulls documentary, The Last Dance. I'm not in that, but a lot of my friends are, because I was working at the Score. So I was there for the 3-peats. And it's like, hey, there's Mike Greenberg. Hey, there's Judd Surratt. There's my friends and everything. And that's what your documentary is. It's like, there's Julie and Shauna Benson, wonderful writers to talk about how great Alex is. Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti. And of course, the co-creator of Kingdom Come, Mark Waid, looking great and telling his story. It's and then Tony Akins and so many
other creators, a lot of artists.
Ken Coy is my brother-in-law. He's in it. I had to put it in, or my wife would have killed me. But no, he was he was an Alex's model for a long time, so we wanted to put him in there. Fletch is in there.
Fletch formerly.
Paul Frank Vito. I mean, great. These guys were all tremendous contributions from everybody. We couldn't be, the Benson sisters were great. Amanda Connor was terrific. Jimmy was fantastic. And I'm sorry,
Sienkiewicz.
Bill Sienkiewicz is in there. I mean, so we were fortunate. There were more that we wanted. Everything didn't, sometimes it came down to timing and schedules, and it just didn't work out. But for the most part, we were happy with who we got, and tried not to focus on who we didn't get.
Well, again, the Kickstarter is underway, And as you know, again, you guys set it's still an expensive threshold, and it's great that as your niece said, Rachel, over 136,000 currently.
Yeah.
But I want to point out, because I guess you guys have a time crunch premium that people may want to check out, and that's the Emerald edition of the package. Describe what's in there.
Well, that's so the Emerald edition is it's a limited edition Blu-ray, and you're also going to get, you know what, I don't want to misspeak, so I'm going to actually pull it up.
We discovered that, again, Ramsey and I, our goal was you want to have those stretch goals, you want to have those items, those specialty items, but we wanted to be sure we created an affordable version that gave you exclusive Kingdom Come product. And
trading cards, you get the trading cards in the landing. Yep.
And the Emerald edition, which is only which is, it's everybody's into the collectible stuff, and we weren't sure how the Blu-ray situation was nowadays on who wants Blu-rays and who doesn't. But the outreach of people that want a Blu-ray, that want a physical copy, was there. So we just, we did the first 24 hours. You get the Emerald edition, and it's highly limited. So we're not trying to do a bait and switch on you. We're just trying to create something that's unique.
And in a sense, like, I think even the regular Blu-ray is this version of it is limited in a sense, because we don't know what is going to happen with the film after this Kickstarter. To be honest, we went, we made the movie ourselves, and like Sal said, I mean, this has been almost 5 years that we've really been working on this. Kind of fits and starts. But this is going to be the way to see the movie. If it's going to be delivering in like spring of 25. Where it goes after that, it could be another year before it's like more publicly available for video on demand, or I'm sure we'll be doing some screenings, but to be able to stream or whatever. So it's like, if you want to get access to it, it really is. This is going to be the exclusive way to participate, and it's a way for us. It's a thank you to our supporters and our backers and our fans. Because we couldn't really make this film without them. Obviously, we have gone and made it, but it's like, we can't make projects like this if we can't have an audience that we can kind of bring it to who are excited about it. And so that's extremely meaningful to us. And so we want to give them something that's like valuable,
So initially, it's going to just be a Blu-ray to purchase, not a digital
I'm sorry. There is a digital access, but the digital access is going to be, it'll be hosted on our platform, and we're not going to be, let's say, I'm not going to say one another, but we don't know what the plan is for that, so we can't really promise that people are going to be able to get digital access or Blu-ray or whatever. Again, after the Kickstarter, until we're at the next step. So it's kind of like this phase. If you want to get it in the spring, this is the only way to do it.
Us, yeah. And then moving forward, people have asked, is it going to be on television? Is it going to be at cons? Is it going to be for sure? Yes to all of that, but we don't know that right now, because obviously, we don't, we're not Warner Brothers. We don't own Kingdom Come. We're literally licensed to make this film. So we kind of have to see where it goes from here.
No, a couple of years ago, there was a fantastic documentary about Frank Sinatra and his 3 Palm Spring homes. And it really went into not only seeing the houses, but they had all these great people that, were part of Frank's life in Palm Springs. His wife, Barbara, is very much in it. And it was great. And initially, much like what you guys are doing, you could either buy a hard copy through the Kickstarter campaign, or you got access on a private platform.
Right. And that's what we're doing.
Version.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's great, guys, because truly, I do think that on the one hand, especially with all the weird things that streamers do, where, remember that great movie that you had because you had an Amazon account? Well, you don't have it anymore because Amazon pulled it. And it's like, what the hell? And it's just
at the end of the day, John, the goal is to get this to the fans. We are not trying to hold out, and we want it. We want everybody to get this film, but right now, the primary way, the most efficient, most effective way to get it is through Kickstarter, through you'll have a code, you'll be able to watch it, or you can get a physical copy of it directly through us. So we're offering it in 2 ways. So we're not playing games with this. But then moving forward, let's say, this time next year, I don't know where we're going to be. I mean,
Right.
Sure.
That's kind of what I was
We're going
getting.
to definitely do everything we can to get it out because we want people to see this. We're not. What's the point of making it if, you're going to play hard to get? I mean, we want people to see the film.
For sure.
Do you envision a time, maybe in addition to the film itself and both the physical media of it and the digital copy? Do you see Sal making a coffee table book of the making of Kingdom Come?
Maybe. I mean, that's an Alex Ross question because Alex is kind of, he's done a lot with Kingdom Come over the last 25 years. So I think that's something where, with the 30th anniversary coming up, that's a possibility. But that's something that clearly that Alex would have to be,
Okay.
That would be a huge commitment for, I definitely can't promise it for him.
But with the 30th anniversary coming right up, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, again, a lot of the photos that you see in the documentary are really great, and they are great. I mean, also we get is great, as you said, we get great process shots of the pencils, and them eventually becoming the finished panels and covers and everything else that's involved. Right. No, this is great, and I mean, I'm such a fan. I mean, and also I can't tell you how many friends that I have that are kind of periphery comic book fans, but they own Kingdom Come because. And
they would enjoy this because this is, I think, I hope that it ticks a box for those people where it's like, if you don't care about comics at all, whatever. But if you're comics adjacent, because I guess that's kind of how I was before I started working with these guys and before I met Alex, And so I that's my perspective. I mean, I'm not that guy anymore. Now I'm like as deep as it gets because Alex has been my mentor, so it's like Alex is like the comic book and Sal. I mean, these guys are like lifelong comic guys. But we wanted those people to be able to enjoy the movie,
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I really do think you managed to make something that all of us nerds that are in the clubhouse, we get and we appreciate. But I think it is a very approachable movie. And Alex's story is a good story. It's a great success story. I had no idea his mother. I knew something about her being an artist as well. But it's fantastic.
No, she's
got examples of her art.
And you see the art in there. We got her art in there.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very smart. And my God, what was Mr. Ross's name? His father.
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, and it reminds me of Art Baltazar's dad, where you've got, all these great talking heads. I'm Jimmy Palmiotti. I created this. I'm so-and-so. I created this. And I'm Clark Ross. I created Alex Ross.
We were really, he passed away, during COVID.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the first interviews we got. So we were really fortunate to get him, that we got that footage and it worked out great because he's so clearly Norm McKay. He's so clearly.
Oh, he's still even 30 years later. Look, exactly.
I mean, he so clearly was such a huge part of Kingdom Come. I mean, he's the narrator. He's the backbone of the entire project. That we'd have to start with his father. So it was important, obviously, to have his father in the doc.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool that both parents got to see Alex's success. And that Clark lived long enough. I don't know if Mrs. Ross is still with us or not.
Yeah. She's still with us. Yeah.
Good for that. Good for her. That's great. Yeah. No, man. Seriously, as a guy who lost his parents young and kind of missed out on my radio career and stuff, it's like, so I'm always like really happy for my friends where the parents get to enjoy. Hey, look at that! My kid's on TV, or my kid did this. And my God, I mean, really, Alex's whole body of work. I don't know if I ever told you this, Sal. I used to work at the bank where Now Comics had their accounts.
Wow.
And as you guys know from making the movie,
that was Alex's first,
Terminator, and it's ironic. My last episode, I talked to Declan Shalvey, who is currently writing the new Terminator comic, but I worked in the customer service area where I would go through canceled checks and make sure that they were part of the statement to send out to the customers. And or whatever, but all I know is I saw all these checks to Now Comics for Terminator: The Burning Earth, and every now and then they'd call about some issue with their account, and I would tease them, and I'd be like, hey, how's the Green Hornet doing? How's Speed Racer doing? Because they had the licenses, but I'm like, tell me about this Terminator: Burning Earth, all these great checks.
We got those covers in there too. That's all in here. Everything you're talking about is in here.
Yeah.
And this was at the time when they were still a viable, comic book company in the 90s. They're like, oh yeah, we got this guy. He really brought a sense of realism to this Terminator comic book, and he's
No, it's
he's
cool.
really above
Those
and beyond.
images are so cool from that book, and we got a few of them in there. And that he did, Sal, you probably know better than me, but that was like colored pencils, right, on like dark paper.
No, it was paint. It was both. He did some of it on
painted,
black paper. Yeah, Alex worked in multimedia, you call it, which is everything, which is paint, acrylics, and color pencils.
Yeah.
There's some certainly there are some Marvel freaks that would say, oh, instead of Kingdom Come, you could have focused on Marvels. Why Kingdom Come and not Marvels, Sal and Ramsey?
Popular. It was. I mean, look, Marvels is great. Where no one's ever knocking Marvels. He did that at a very young age. But if you have to pick his definitive project by far, when you see a signing that Alex does, 2/3 of the line is Kingdom Come. I mean, it spoke to so many people in a unique way. Marvels was terrific. It kind of introduced the world to Alex's photorealistic style. But there's something unique about Kingdom Come that it spoke to this DC fan base. And you know how loyal the fan base is. They're either Marvel or DC. And the DC fan base just really, it did, it spoke to them in a unique way. And so we figured, okay, let's go with that.
I also think. Go ahead, Ramsey.
I was just gonna say. I mean, it's like we were talking about his dad. I mean, it's a more personal story for Alex. I think
very much.
There's no doubt about it.
Norman.
Norman. And when you talk about, I think Superman, and for Mark too, like Superman is like the guy that they were really. That's the guy for them in terms of comics and how they look at these kind of superheroes. And so, I mean, I love Marvel's. The painting in Marvels is incredible. I mean, the stuff that's going on there is so good. But it's different.
I even think as a reader, and I'm with you. And in fact, that whole period of the 90s, I kind of checked out, partially because it was right after college. And when you're a struggling guy in your early 20s, right out of college, maybe you don't have money for comics. But I heard about Marvels. It brought me back to the comic book stores. And I did get Marvels when it was coming out, and I certainly took notice of Alex then. But I really think the storytelling from Marvels to Kingdom Come, there's absolutely a progression, not only in Alex's art, no disrespect to Kurt Busiek. Kurt Busiek is a brilliant, brilliant writer, and I know he wrote the original Marvels miniseries. But like you said, I really do think there was a personal attachment with Mark Waid and Alex on Kingdom Come that really came through in the storytelling.
Yeah. I agree. Totally agree.
There's some great scenes too that you guys show the comic panels, and you've got great voiceover people either doing the narration or my favorite scene. And in fact, during COVID, I think we had an online convention, and I had George, from Father of the Bride. Is it George Newbern? I want to say is his name, the voice of Superman from the Justice League cartoons.
Yeah.
And my dear friend Susan Eisenberg, as I always call her, the animated Amazon, because she was the voice of Wonder Woman for 20 years. And I had them recreate the exact scenes that you did of Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah, sitting in outer space, and I reminded Brainiac, whatever, and it's a fantastic scene. So yeah, it was great. So yeah, tell me about the actors that you got, Ramsey, to do that voice acting.
Yeah, no, we cast them. I mean, we did a casting call, and we wanted to find some voices that were true to the characters, but were kind of something that was also kind of more in line with, I guess, like the comic or the voice you might hear from reading one of the comics. And I thought they did a great job. I mean, I love the voice of Norm. I was like, that was like, which is in the trailer too. I was like, he's not a superhero, but it's just like just felt like him, and brought a lot of gravitas to it. And so, but it was fun doing those parts. From like, those were actually some of the earliest things that we did when Sal and I, when we were kind of developing stuff, I think maybe even pre-COVID, we were developing ideas because we weren't, we were doing this doc thing, and then we were thinking it was going to be Kingdom Come focused. And then we kind of wanted to test out some ideas to develop a couple scenes from the book, not knowing exactly what direction the design and animation would go. And they turned out really cool. We did a lot of them. These were kind of the ones that we liked the most. And so we were like, yeah, we're going to use these, and they kind of fit in a part where we're really telling the story of the book. There's a lot of different kinds of, I mean, I'm sure you saw like the different styles of animation and design and stuff that we did sort of to illustrate different aspects of it. And also like, some things are more 3D rendered, some things it's more kind of bringing the book to life. And so it was all part of the design process, but it was cool. I mean, I'm really happy with how those turned out.
You should be happy with it. No, you guys did a hell of a job. It really turned out well. I know Ramsey, as well as being the director, you're the editor of the film, and no, it's it looks great. And again, you had me. I mean, and again,
you're a true fan, so that makes me feel good. Yeah.
Well, even worse though, as I texted Sal, I'm like, "Hey, I'm the first voice. That's fantastic." Other than the acting and the narration, it's like
I'll tell
the
you what,
first
John.
fucking hit is me. I'm like,
you had
awesome.
You had a great interview, man. I was well, we've known each other obviously before this, and we worked together on stuff before, but you really nailed it. And more than that, I think you were like, you actually spoke to something that we really needed in the story, which is you knew this context of that kind of time, talking about the 80s and 90s, because you were that guy, and you were just, you're very articulate, so you were able to present it in a way where I think your interview was gold, man. It was great. We appreciate you jumping in and helping us out.
Well, that's kind, but also you had a lot of other great people in there that aren't comic book writers or artists. I mean, the guy who owns the store owners at First Aid Comics in Chicago, and or not First Aid, excuse me.
Golden Apple.
Golden Apple in L.A., but Chicago, in Sheridan.
Terry. Yeah. I'm gonna.
I'm sorry, Terry.
Yeah. I'm
remind
in Rogers Park. In Rogers Park. No, I'm looking.
Yes, on Sheridan. Yeah.
I grew up
great comic,
right by Loyola.
It's
exactly, man.
Third Coast,
exactly. Well done. No, it's great to see those guys, and
they were amazing. They put that together. No, that's a real meetup that they do. And so
I believe
so that's a real meetup that they do. That was how we found him, because we were with one of the producers on the film, or associate producer. She was helping us coordinate things, and I was kind of like, hey, we would love to get a comic store in Chicago. And she was like, well, why don't we try and look at some meetups and see if we can find something? And so we found that group, and we reached out to Terry, and he was so cool and so generous. And he was like, hey, I've got this group, and he's like, they're fans. He's like, everybody loves Kingdom Come. He's like, we're going to do a reread of Kingdom Come. And so they did the reread, and then we captured that. They do like a real meetup where they sit around and they read a book and they talk about it for like 2 hours. I mean, that's just cool. That's what I'm saying. That's like anybody could get that. That's community. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Well, and that's, again, this is what is missing from a lot of other brick and mortar stores, that I always, and truly, I know I sound like an old man yelling at clouds, but I feel bad for kids, because when we were growing up, we had bookstores, we had record stores, we had all these brick and mortar stores that we could hang out and browse and maybe buy something, maybe not, but it gave us things to do and get us out of the house. And comic stores are kind of like one of the last places where you can build a community of people coming in and having a book club and really sharing that experience. And that's why I really think you guys, beyond telling Alex's story, you tell the story of the comic book culture. And as consumers, as readers, what we love about it, why the TV shows and the movies are now successful, and the fact that it's guys like Alex, and the fact that the art, because of guys like Alex, have elevated over the years, and the writing as well. I mean, I don't want to leave Mark out of the equation, Mark Waid. But yeah, man, I mean, one of my great thrills is bringing somebody into a local comic shop that isn't part of the culture. And it's like, they're expecting collected versions of like high and lowest comic strips that you read in the Sunday Funnies. Yeah. And they have no idea. And it's like, I had no idea the art was so sophisticated. And you look at a Dave McKean, or you look at a David Mack, or you look a lot of Daves, Dave Johnson, and you look at an Alex Ross, and it's like, and Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's like, wait a minute, there's a lot more going on than Jimmy with his left-handed crayon trying to make funny drawings.
Oh yeah.
So
no, I mean, Sal says it in the movie. He says it in the trailer. He says it's a true art form. But I mean, we really believe that. I mean, I'm a true believer, and I love art. Like that's like that's why I got into it, is because I have that artistic sensibility, and as a filmmaker, and the things you like, and these things are all connected, and absolutely. Like there's stuff operating, and forget about it. It's now like the dominant form of pop culture. So I don't even think you need to really convince anybody. You know.
I get it. I had no idea that Wayne Musso contributed to the project. Did he have some original art that you guys were able to use?
No, I think he's backed us here on he's
Oh,
we
I
have
see.
an associate producer credit on Kickstarter, which is
I
the
see.
top credit, and we appreciate
Okay,
that, man.
very
Thank
cool.
you.
Very
Thank
cool.
you,
Well,
Wayne.
there you
Yeah,
go,
I know.
everybody. So yeah, if you
Yeah.
back this thing at a certain tier, you could be an associate producer on the
That's
on
right.
the documentary. So that's
Yeah.
great. And I'm
Yeah.
with you, Remsey. I mean, that's why I started Word Balloon, because I'm like, no, man. I mean, I started Word Balloon in 2005. Next year's my 20th anniversary, and one of the reasons why was movies like Sin City, things like that, where all of a sudden Hollywood was taking notice. And it's like, wait a minute, they're treating this thing as a serious storytelling art form. And Sal, from watching at conventions, how many creators were suddenly optioned, and hey, you guys were the prettiest girls at the dance as far as getting some creator-owned things, and of course the things that DC and Marvel were doing that eventually became TV shows and film.
It didn't always happen. I mean, we knew a lot of independent, everything, an option deal is $400. It could be, $400 or 20 grand. But at the end of the day, you have to just do it yourself. I'm sorry. You really do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're waiting for that knock at the door and you're waiting for them to say, hey, give you permission to do it without breaking it down to, cleanly, basically comes down to who's going to pay for it. Because if you want to do a film, make a film. Get a camera, get a guy like Ramsey who knows what the hell he's doing, collaborate with him. Hopefully he sees what you see and wants to do what you want to do. And we worked together for years before we
We got a good creative collaboration.
We got a good creative process. And if either one of us is full of shit, we tell each other, hey, you're full of shit. And it just comes down to, hey, who's going to pay for this? The kind of what worked to, the only time COVID worked to our advantage was with this film, because it allowed me to kind of do it over a longer period of time, because there's money involved with making these types of films. And I knew that Ramsey and I knew that we wanted to give it, above all, whether it was going to be a good film or not, we didn't know, but we knew it had to have a professional polish. We couldn't use the excuse of, oh, it's an indie film, to kind of mail it in or half-ass it. So we agreed, whatever happened, we need to have animation. We need to have it edited right. We need to have the balance. We need to reach out and get a certain amount of creators. We need to get out, do a deep dive with Alex and Mark and get these interviews. And then even then, the first couple of rough cuts, it weren't great. They were going in different directions because some of them were too long. Some of them weren't, And then finally, thankfully, through a lot of trial and error, we found a nice balance of a film that addresses the fan base, because we knew the fan base. You can't turn, obviously that's who we are, but also you have to make a film for everybody that my wife could watch and that Ramsey's wife could watch. And you could say, hey, it stands on its own. And, you remember, John, in the 90s, you could make a documentary just about the film business in the 90s because of how crazy it was. What was going on.
I don't know if you could hear that, guys. I apologize. My speaker was making sound. I'm going to turn it off.
I didn't hear it.
All right, good. Well, that's good. Anyway.
But we could have, there was so much going on. What I was saying, John, was so much going on in the 90s with the comic business, that how could you not address some of that had a lot to do with Kingdom Come? So that's kind of where we had to find this back plot, this sort of, to kind of pull it all together.
No, I totally understand, man. And again, I think you guys achieved it with what you made, and the ironic timing of the original book in '96, when the speculative market was starting to collapse, and eventually we had poor DC dealing with the fact. Or rather,
I
Marvel.
love that story. I was like, that was another one that we kind of cut. I mean, the stuff's in there, but we got more. We got that from everybody because I found that fascinating. But it kind of was hard to get the exact angle. But yeah, you could do a film just about the crazy speculative, comic kind of 90s. I mean, and that was cool, like learning the story from everybody and then doing the research and then going through all the archival stuff that we were unearthing. That's the fun part of the creative process. But to Sal's point, and I've done a narrative film, a feature film as well, like these things just, and every time I start a project with anybody, I'm just like, it's a slow walk into signing on for something, because this is going to be something I'm dealing with for probably the rest of my life. Like, we're making this, it takes us 5 years, but it's like we're going to be, this film exists, right? And so it's like we're going to be dealing with it for a long time to come still. So these become like part of your catalog, and it's a huge commitment financially and in terms of time and everything,
Well, I think both of you, Sal as an executive producer, and I think Remzi, you as a director, this is a fine finished product that you'll be very happy to have on your resume. And I do think that, like,
that's the goal. You don't know, and I'm sure everyone's going to have an opinion, but when you put something out there, that's what you're opening yourself up to. But I have all the faith in the world in it. I really think it's a great film. It's it stands on its own. I think you could show it to comic fans and non-comic fans alike, and I think they'll get something out of it.
I absolutely agree.
Remzi did a great job.
Yeah, he did.
Thanks, guys.
No,
I'm excited for people to see it. You can only, Sal and I were just talking about this a couple days ago, where it's like, you could tell a million stories. You could tell this story 20 different ways, So you got to just kind of pick your angle and go with it, I think. And hopefully it kind of connects with people. But when you're making anything, it's like, you can't be so focused on the reaction of something when you're making it. You really got to be focused on just trying to do the best thing you can,
the only thing that was really, really important was it had to speak to the book itself. It had to be about the art. It had to be about the characters. It had to be about the graphic novel. So all the other trappings are nice to create the narrative. But if you're not going to show the book itself, you're not going to talk about the book and the influence the book had, then you're kind of missing the point of doing something about Kingdom Come.
Has anyone from DC/Warner's, have they seen it yet?
A few people we've shown it to. We haven't got any reaction yet because we're so new into this right now. Kickstarter literally just started this morning, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we're hoping it's a pleasant journey. So far it's been hugs and kisses, but the honeymoon stage can be that way. But I couldn't be. We've crossed some hurdles, but in a good way. We have
in a good way.
About. Everything is copacetic.
I want to give a current count, and everybody again. The Kickstarter went live as we're recording this today on Tuesday. There are currently 731 backers, and they're almost at $150,000.
Wow!
So
thanks,
that's
guys.
pretty goddamn great. But the campaign lasts for 30 days. And man, I imagine you're going to be doing a lot more podcasts and a lot more interviews, both print and podcast.
And this is a labor of love. This isn't like, hey, next time you see me, I'm gonna have a beret and a monocle. And so have my feet up on the desk, John, with a cigar. I mean, this
exactly mogul.
This is not that. This is pretty much, Remzi and I are pretty much, meat and potatoes guys who are putting this together. We're
independent creators,
We're making rocket. We're making the Lords of Flatbush. We are not even making rocket.
One of my favorite.
We're making when Stallone was in Kojak is what we're making. You're making
exactly, man.
He plays the mugger in Kojak. That kind.
I remember that's hilarious.
You got to be a little foolish to try and do something, to do any kind of big project, because it's like I said, it takes a bit of that to just get it done.
Sal's wife chiming in. She's very proud of Sal. Rightfully so. Happy anniversary to Sal and Karen.
Thank you.
Who just celebrated an anniversary.
She's the only thing that kept me that keeps me respectable, is my wife, because otherwise I'd still be at the Montefiore.
It's like my father.
I'd be in juvenile detention. Yeah, I'd still be making license plates. I'd be on the side of the highway with the orange jumpsuit with the stick and the nail picking up garbage.
This is Sal's personal mythology, which it never gets old to
we
me.
don't need
I
to
love
talk.
this.
We don't need to talk about that I was Pressure Creole in another life.
The Sal Abbinanti story. Hey, here we go. Steve Fournette joining us. Congratulations, Sal and Ramsey. Can't wait to see it. Oh, thank you. He says it's a great show, John. Well,
Steve's the best. Steve is like he's with the Dunn Museum, and he's terrific. Steve is a good friend of mine, and he's done. We've done exhibitions with Steve for Alex and for Bill Sienkiewicz, and he's a true artisan. Steve, he's a nice guy. I feel sorry for Steve because whenever I get him on the phone, I always I have a good time breaking his chops, but. Steve and I have, it's the same way with us, John. When we get going we start talking about Mannix and,
It's true. Absolutely true.
And
Yeah,
well,
I want to mention the Dunn Museum because there's footage of the Dunn Museum there. And also, I forget who said it, but it's true that when you look at Alex's art, it really is a combination of Jack Kirby energy, but Alex has obviously a completely different style than Jack, but also that Norman Rockwell sensibility.
And Neil Adams. He's a big Neil guy. Of course. Well. Yeah. I would say those are the top three right there, John. I would say definitely Norman Rockwell, Neil Adams, and Jack Kirby. But for me, it's there's always been Kirby and everybody else. But I think everybody in comics will agree to that. But
unfortunately, it would have been. It's too bad that Neil wasn't still around for us to get him in the documentary and stuff. Because and I don't even know. Like, have you ever heard Neil praise Alex or any thoughts?
Oh no, I've been fortunate enough doing enough shows over the years to have gotten to know Neil Adams pretty good. I mean, we were on a friendly basis. We didn't hang out, but him and Neil really, really liked what Alex did and spoke for a highlight of him. We used to come by the table and look at the paintings and look at the art. And Alex, of course, revered him. That was his hero, was Neil Adams.
Yeah. Well, again, he was the star of the Bronze Age. I mean, Neil, not only comics, but all the calendars and the lunchboxes and all the licensing stuff.
Absolutely.
Just like Jose Garcia Lopez.
Yes.
In the 80s, Neil was the guy in the 70s. There really was you want to know what DC looks like? It's
the
Neil
most
Adams.
Iconic stuff by far. Yeah, was Neil Adams for DC.
Absolutely, man.
Years. Sure.
Yeah.
He was
No.
the guy.
And again, Alex's stuff for years. I mean, you'd go to the Warner Brothers stores and there's all the lithos now available at alexrossart.com. I'll get the commercial in. Don't worry.
Well, thank you. It kind of was a unique time with the Warner Brothers stores that we were able to Alex to produce that iconic stuff. And it's unfortunate that they're gone, but it was again, that
was before my time. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Warner Brothers had stores. Yeah, they had some amazing studio stores at the bigger malls,
like the Disney stores, Ramsey.
No, I remember the stores. I didn't realize that Alex had.
Oh yeah, no, he created a lot of really iconic Warner Brothers stuff, DC stuff for them. The bigger lithograph, the bigger images, the iconic Superman stuff, and Batman.
I'm sure I've probably seen the images. Yeah.
I was going to say a lot of the images in the documentary. Absolutely, man.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great stuff. And again, I really appreciate that it was acknowledged that I actually a quote of mine in the movie where I'm like, James Gunn is looking at Kingdom Come and the stuff that Alex made, especially in the DC universe. And it's like, we need our TV shows and our movies to look like this. And even in the CW shows, you saw a lot of Alex influence in a lot of those shows. I mean, I remember very.
It was important to touch upon that. Alex had always felt that he didn't. He wanted a sense of, he understood. That these characters belong to DC, but he kind of felt we wanted to touch upon the legacy that Kingdom Come had left behind, and it's something to be proud of. So it's something we wanted to definitely touch upon.
And kudos to those guys for looking at that stuff, because that's where
the fan base wants. I mean, the fan base wants it, so why not?
Well, and as Svengoolie said, Rich Coase, and it's first of all, it's great you got Rich in the documentary, but also on the Svengoolie set, and Listen, I love the makeup, but it was great to see Rich Coase in this documentary.
Oh,
And
Rich
he
is
said
the
it. He's right. He's one of the guys that said Alex's stuff is cinematic, and as a guy who really does, I mean, his job is to analyze movies and stuff and make them funny for his weekly show. But yeah, no, I
and
love
he's a
talking
huge
movies
fan. I
with
mean,
him.
he's a huge comic
Yeah.
fan. When we were talking to him, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
he was going deep on Alex's work and catalog and all the different things. And he's a true fan. He's a true fan.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, he's been on Word Balloon many times.
Oh,
and
really?
it's
Oh,
always-
okay.
He's-
Oh, yeah, absolutely. man.
Rich is the
Wow.
nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Sweet guy.
He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It
No, and
was
again,
great
that's
that we got him in it, that we were able to our schedules, we were able to get over there.
And they gave us a piece, that piece with Alex too. They gave that to us to use where Alex goes, where he's in the studio,
Oh, yeah, the video.
archival bit. Yeah.
That's great, man. Yeah, again, I mean, Rich, I mean, well, they kind of made a documentary about Rich when the city of Berwyn gave him the skeleton key to the city a couple years ago, and it was on.
Yeah, I didn't know
it was
that.
on
No,
you.
he deserves it. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a TV legend.
That guy's a legend. Oh my God.
TV legend, that guy. I mean, it's
100%, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, did I already say? Forgive me, I'm starting to get senile. What I liked about another thing that Sienkiewicz said is, they asked, because Bill's a painter, but in a very different style, and it's like, well, did you feel threatens the wrong word, but competitive? And no, they're completely different artists, but it was guys like Bill who came slightly before Alex. That, oh my God, look what they're doing. Look what the high end comic book art looks like. That's what I said about Dave McKean as well. And then Alex comes along, and I always describe, for people who haven't first seen it, and tell me if I'm wrong, Sal, I always describe Alex's art as like romance novel covers, but even more so in terms of attention to detail and making the people look realistic. So that's where I start to
think
kind of
a lot of the strength of Alex is his design, it's his compositions, it's his layouts. I mean, when you see his thumbnails, they're tremendously detailed, and he puts most of Alex's work is in the prep, is in the actual composition, it's in the layouts. And I think that's where a lot of people who want to be the next Alex Ross, or who think, oh, he's just a photorealistic artist or that kind of nonsense, don't realize what a great designer he is, and how strong his layouts are and his compositions. So I think the strength of Alex's work is that, and then his finish. I mean, he is he's a machine of how much he works and what he produces. I mean, if you see how many paintings he produces at the end of the year, it's incredible. I mean, but that's his thing. I mean, he's always been that guy. He was a savant, when I met him. He just is. That's what he does. I mean, he's a painter. I mean, he was one of the only artists I knew who never really had a backup plan. When I asked him, hey, what will you have done? What were you planning on doing had it not worked out in comics or as a painting? And I remember Alex told me, he goes, oh, I never had a backup plan. He goes, I knew I was going to do this, and I knew I was going to be great at it. So he had tremendous amount of confidence from the jump. And I respected that, because he didn't give himself an option, a way out. He just knew he had a singular idea of what he wanted to do as a painter. And, he painted Marvels when I think he was 20. He was 19 or 20 when he painted Marvels. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And even younger, doing Terminator Burning Earth and everything.
Yeah. He was still working at Burnett. He was, he
was moonlighting. Yeah.
He was moonlighting.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy. I've talked to Alex about this, because thankfully through Sal, Alex has come on many times on Word Balloon, and even when I talk to him personally, when we see each other at a comic store or whatever, I miss his interiors. And as you were saying about his storytelling, Sal, that's what you really do see with Kingdom Come. You really do see his page design and his panel design and stuff. And his covers are iconic. And I'm thrilled that the Big Two and other publishers still want him for covers. And I can also appreciate not, I know occasionally, thank God, a couple of years ago, we got Fantastic Four Full Circle. So we got a full book of Alex's storytelling.
He does them. He still does them. But
no, he does.
But not as much as I think the average fan would love to see.
Yeah.
Oh, is he working on one now?
He's working on a graphic novel right now. It's laid out.
Outstanding.
It'll probably come out next year. Yeah. He's always.
I'm glad to hear it. Well,
He's always working on something. That guy.
I think it's about getting the time in your schedule too. I mean, just to deliver those pages, you're talking 6 months, 9 months straight work just to do those pages.
Yeah,
and
he
it's
does
like,
about 10 to 12 painted pages a month if he's working on a story.
right.
So, and it's a tremendous amount of work in painting sequential stuff.
Yeah.
Earth X, something that Alex is known for, but I know Doug Brathwaite, I think, did the interiors of that Marvel miniseries. Am I right, Sal?
John Paul Leone did Earth X. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. The great John Paul Leone. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know, much like in Kingdom Come and the collected editions and what we see in the documentary, there were a lot of character design process pages that Alex did of, this is where Captain America is in this post-apocalyptic future. This is where Peter Parker is. And you'd see all these different Marvel characters, much like Kingdom Come. And it was after Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
And I would imagine maybe inspired Alex to do Earth X, Sal. Is that fair?
No, I think it was just he wanted to kind of pivot a little bit after, the amount of work that was involved. He did a lot of covers and a lot of designs and a lot of layouts for Earth X. So it was a tremendous amount of. He was a very ambitious project. After Kingdom Come, he did Uncle Sam, which was a Vertigo book, was just re-released with Steve Darnell, and then he wanted to dive into Marvel a little bit and do something really ambitious with Earth X, and. Yeah, so he's always wanted to kind of be, bounce around, and he's more inspired by what is something that's cool that he wants to do versus just another project. He's always picked out stuff that inspires him more than just another job. If it's just like, I don't want no, it's just another one of those things, then he's just like, no, let somebody else do it. But he's always got something ambitious up his sleeve.
We're near Halloween, just over a month. Sal, talk about those Universal movie Blu-ray covers that Alex did, those beautiful black and white paintings of the classic Universal monster movies.
Well, again, that was one of those things where occasionally in Alex's, the timing of things, where he gets a little uninspired, or he just doesn't feel like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it when different projects come around. And so, I just said, Alex, what do you want to paint? Because as an artist, I can appreciate creating art for art's sake. And Alex and I have always been huge fans of creature features and the Universal monsters, because that's what we grew up with. So when the opportunity, we had a Marvel license, we had a DC license, and then we'd worked with the Beatles on the Apple license. So we kind of knew the trappings, so to speak, of how to approach to get a license. So we spoke with Universal about doing the monsters, and they were just kind of like, what? Because that was of our generation, the Universal monsters. So the people, they literally didn't even know what we were talking about when we said Universal monsters. So when we approached it, they were like, sure, you want to do Universal monsters, go ahead. Nobody at the time cared, but Alex was thrilled. But he did insist it had to be Bela Lugosi, and it had to be Boris Karloff. And at the time, we couldn't get Bela Lugosi because Bela Lugosi's estate had a problem with Universal because of the likeness. You could do Dracula, but you couldn't do Bela Lugosi Dracula unless you paid the Bela Lugosi estate.
Right.
So we met with his family, and his son is this brilliant lawyer, and Karloff's granddaughter is in charge of the Karloff estate. Tremendous, really nice. Could not be nicer. We're very excited that Alex wanted to do Bela Lugosi and kind of keep his legacy alive. So Alex was like, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do Bela. So we worked out all the other monsters with Universal, and then we worked out Dracula to be Bela Lugosi. Alex's version, it was, and so it all came together. And we planned on doing another set, and it just didn't come together. We wanted to continue on with London After Midnight and Murders of the Rue Morgue and Phantom of the Opera and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And even maybe dip into one of the 50s again, a little bit, a few of the 50s, I was a teenage werewolf kind of thing. It just didn't happen. We were going to do Quasimodo, Lon Chaney, Quasimodo, and King Kong, classic King Kong. Didn't happen. Might still happen, but didn't happen.
I mean, people responded really strongly to those, though. I feel
they really
those
liked
were very
them. They
successful,
really liked
right?
them. I mean, again, the
Yeah.
problem was our Universal license ran out, and
Yeah.
then when we reapproached Universal, they were like, "Well, we're a young company. We want Fast and the Furious and Jurassic Park." And Alex was like, "I don't want any part of that stuff." So it might still work out because some of those characters are falling into public domain at this point. You know, I
Right.
mean, Quasimodo and Dr. Jekyll
Right.
and Murders of the Rue Morgue and Phantom of the Opera, they've fallen into public domain. So you could literally make them and not. But then, you know, Alex also said he wanted to do a few more. So we might have run into some problems.
How quickly did he paint those paintings, Sal? I thought you
Did
told
it
me
over.
painting pretty fast.
He did it over vacation. I remember it was over the holidays, and I don't know exactly what. With Alex, it's mostly about the layout. Once he gets the layout and he fleshes out the finish, then he just literally goes in and starts painting, and he doesn't, you know, he knocks them out, and in the sense of he just works on them until they're done.
He knows how to paint. Like, he knows how to, like, he says the layout. He knows how to, like, just execute on the painting. I mean, a painting.
He did them over to Christmas vacation, and he's like, "Hey, come
Yeah.
and get these things." And I said, "Which ones?" And he's like, "All of them."
All of them.
All of them. He finished them all. Yeah.
And I remember at a convention, a Wizard Chicago convention in Rosemont, Illinois, him on stage and a guy in a Spider-Man costume, and he drew this fantastic kind of, you know, from the chest up Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Painted it on stage, and was just telling stories while I was doing it. And it's like, oh my God, this guy! I mean,
he's a
pretty
machine.
finished before the
He's a
convention or
machine.
the panel was over.
When people want to say, "Oh, I love when people go, "Oh, Sal, I want to introduce you to this is the next Alex Ross." Or this, I always laugh because I'm thinking to myself, they have no idea how much this guy works. They have no idea how hardworking he is and how much of a a prodigy he is towards this stuff and how much he loves it. I mean, so when people always complain to me, it shows like, why isn't he here? Doesn't he love his fan base? It's like, guys, look around. I mean, who produces this much work and doesn't love their fans and doesn't love this medium? I mean, come on now. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean,
He's just prolific. I mean, to work that hard.
The stuff he produces and how much he produces, when people say that, I think it's ridiculous. It's like, come on, stop it. I mean,
no, I'm with you, man. Well, guys, again, The Legend of Kingdom Come, if you want to get the Blu-ray or if you want to get a digital copy of it, the Kickstarter is happening right now. It started today. You got 30 days to act, but don't wait because you're really going to miss out if suddenly you're like, oh my God, it's day 31 and I blew it. You don't want to let that happen. Fantastic.
And in fairness to them, they're really going to enjoy it. I say it with a lot of pride and a lot of confidence that they're going to love this film. They really are.
Well, and again, I'm one of the few employees of the project to have watched the finished documentary. I am blown away. Way to go, Ramsey! Fantastic direction, fantastic editing.
Thank you.
It doesn't hurt when you got quality material from Alex Ross and the wonderful contributors.
For sure.
Yeah, no. And Sal, truly, man, we've talked before, and like you said earlier, if you want one of these things, you really can't wait for a Netflix or someone to have the idea of making
this project would not happen without Sal. I mean, that's the bottom line. Is I mean, maybe this film wouldn't happen without me, but the truth is, Sal brought the enthusiasm to this project, and you got to have a driving force with you got to have a vision, and Sal's had that from the beginning. So you got to give it to him.
It had, it was something when you want to make it, you have to just say, okay. And it's not always going to be, hugs and kisses. I mean, it's not always going to work out great. When we hit COVID, we're like, boom. I mean, you remember it was on ice. I was like Frankenstein frozen in a block of ice, John, when the werewolf finds him, I mean, so that's, so it was very, very, I mean, you remember Ramsey, it was tough. We
never a straight line.
It was ever going to get finished because there was so much editing and so much post-production that it needed. We weren't anywhere close to getting it finished.
No.
So until we just said, all right, let's just put our heads down and try to get this thing done. And
I mean, the edit was done basically the end of last year. So it's like, that's just even, just to get it, every stage of it just takes a long time. Yeah.
Well, again, I think you guys did a hell of a job. The
Thank you,
Kickstarter is active now. The Legend of Kingdom Come. You got 30 days to get to it as of this recording.
I'll still tell you Captain Marvel stories if you see me at a con. I'll be at New York. I'll be in Luca. I'll be at San Diego until probably they put the pennies on my eyes. Ask me about. I'll tell you some stuff I couldn't say in the doc about being Captain Marvel, and it's.
We appreciate the support, guys. This has been amazing first day.
And everybody who's already
grateful.
contributed from $5 to Wayne. Thank you for being associate producer credit. Can't thank you enough. Yeah, I mean, literally everybody we never take any of the supporters for granted. They're so terrific as an indie creator to have people show up and say, yeah, I want to support this, and actually where the rubber meets the road. Can't thank you enough.
And I'll say the good thing is, this is not a film Kickstarter where you're not going to get this thing for 3, 4, 5 years.
Order fulfillment.
This is coming in the spring.
Order fulfillment is paramount. Without you learn that early on. If you are not ready to deliver, then don't even bother doing.
I hear you.
Because you only get one shot. They don't want to hear your excuses. They don't want to know about what happened, or my girlfriend walked out, or anything. Nobody gives a shit. They want where's my stuff.
Absolutely, man. No, Sal, you and I know a lot of comic creators who've kind of fucked up with their Kickstarters, and these projects never happen.
I think a lot of people wait for permission to make the project, and then they get the money to make the project, and then they forget that 99% of the work is actually making the project.
It's not as easy as you think, and it's not just about money.
Easy as you think. You think, great, I got a blank check. Let's go make a film. Oh, no. And that's just when the fun starts. That's when you turn into a werewolf. Is when
if you use all of the resources to make the project, and then you get to the stage where we're at, and then you can't really even fulfill or deliver it. Like, what people are really ultimately doing at this stage is they're supporting the film, and they're also they're kind of paying to get that product. You know what I mean? So that's a huge part of it, and that's why we're excited about doing Kickstarter this way. I mean, I've actually done it a lot of different ways, because I've been involved in many Kickstarter projects, as Sal has as well, that all finished and were successful and delivered. But this is, I think, a little different than the other ones I've done, because we're just like, the film is not 100%, not everything, but as you've seen it, it's basically done. So the trimmings and stuff that we need to button up, notwithstanding, this is coming very soon.
Do you envision special features or added scenes beyond the cut of its own the movie as well, Ramsey?
Yeah, we're talking about it for the Blu-ray. We haven't figured out exactly. That's one of the last stages. We're kind of waiting to get through the Kickstarter before we go and actually offer the Blu-ray and figure out all the content that's on it. But there is a lot of content, a lot of great stuff that didn't make it.
We got those shots of you, John, sitting by the pool with your false eyelashes. So we want to get those,
Smoking a cigar, wearing my sunglasses.
Smoking a cigar with your feet in
the beret.
With a beret and a monocle.
Absolutely.
You guys are being sarcastic. To me, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I haven't smoked cigars since the 90s, but I was a big cigar guy.
A grasshopper and a velvet hammer. Be like Jim
the drinks now.
Be like Jim Backus in Mad Mad World. John. Yeah. Don't make him so sweet this time. You
see, Ramsey, you're right, man. This is what Sal and I do. We talk about Mannix reruns, and we talk about Jim Backus and everything.
You're different. You guys are you're the old breed. I love it.
Yeah, how great is he?
We are.
Jim Backus.
That's all right. Hilarious. All right, boys. Well done. The Legend of Kingdom Come, the documentary. The Kickstarter is active now. Get it. Watch the trailer. You will be thrilled when you see the trailer. You heard voices at the beginning when I played that commercial. That's just the tip of the iceberg of the trailer, let alone the whole movie. Fantastic talking heads.
A lot of animation. Ramsey, how many animated clips we got in?
There's over 150 animations, but that's not individual shots. That's like, multiple images in the shots. There's like over 150 shots, which was a lot. Yeah.
And it's the kind of movie that you can show to a non-comic fan and explain, this is the comic culture. This is one of the best examples of the finished work of the comic culture. No, it's a movie for everybody, and I'm happy you guys were kind enough to give me one of the first interviews. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
John.
right.
Always
Appreciate it, John. This has been great.
Thanks, man. Well, the rest of this week, tomorrow night, Wednesday, Glenn Greenberg is going to be on, who used to be one of the big Marvel editors of the 90s and was kind of there when everything was falling apart at Marvel. And was, I'm sure a guy that was like, am I going to have a job next week with all these budget cuts? And as we remember, Sal, the history, Marvel was on the brink of bankruptcy back then.
Oh, yeah.
And, guys like Avi Arad really kind of turned the company around at a very crucial moment. So I'm excited to talk to Glenn about that. And Thursday, I'm going to talk to Jeremy Adams of DC Comics, he did a great run on The Flash. He's done a great run on Green Lantern. And we'll talk about his comic book work. So that's coming later this week on Word Balloon. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.